All right, everybody, so here's a quick video on some more help with reasoning. So before we jump into it, let's look at what you need to do in order to get full points on the rubric for the reasoning section. So comes right from the rubric. It says, reasoning for each piece of evidence clearly and fully connects to the argument in the claim, which means that for each reasoning piece that you have, right, for all the evidence that you have, you need to tie it back to the claim. Let's jump into what that means. So what is reasoning? It's the most important part of your essay, okay? Reasoning is you essentially asking this question and then writing and explaining about it in your essay. You're asking yourself the question, how does your evidence support and explain the reason in your claim? So if you remember, right, way back you wrote your claim, right? That goes in your first paragraph in your introduction. What your reasoning does, it ties each piece of evidence back to that original claim, okay? Because that's what makes your writing strong. So when you really think about it, right, you have your claim, you're spending your entire essay or project working on that claim, right, and trying to prove why it's right. You have evidence to prove why it's right. Your reasoning is your piece in there that explains to the reader why your evidence supports your claim. Essentially, why your argument is correct, right? So for our purposes, right, we're writing a historical essay. This is the part of the essay that makes you a historian, all right? This is kind of the bridge. This is how I like to kind of look at it, right? You're piecing together evidence to make meaning. You're creating your argument, right? So I kind of like to think of it as like a bridge, right, between your claim and your evidence, right? So if you have a good claim and you have good sources, the reasoning is that bridge between the two, right? And that's where your argument is. This is where you come in and explain, right, why you are correct. Why does your evidence support your claim, okay? So how do you do it, right? So this is how it works, right? Usually this is how people do it, and I think this is the clearest way to do so, right? But after you introduce your evidence, now you must clearly explain to your reader how your evidence supports your claim. So you're always tying back to your claim, right? So you're going to introduce your evidence. You're going to introduce your information or your quote, right? And then that's the part where you come in and now you explain, all right, the evidence that you just put in your essay. How does that support your claim, right? That is your reasoning. Make sure to always revisit your claim, right? You can even restate it, right? You can even restate your claim in your paragraphs so that the reader knows exactly what you're arguing, okay? This is going to help your essay be organized. This is going to help you stay streamlined, right? So if you remember, right, the entire point of your essay and all your different pieces of evidence is to prove to your reader why your claim is correct. Again, the way to do that is through reasoning, right? How good can you explain why the evidence you have supports your claim, right? So make sure to be clear, right? This is a lot of the times, right, when people lose points for reasoning, it's because they don't put enough detail, right? This is the most important part of your essay, and this is, right, essentially what I'm looking for. You want to let the reader know exactly what the argument you are trying to make is, okay? Don't assume that the reader knows anything. Assume that they know nothing about your topic, right? So you're going to explain everything clearly, explicitly, and directly as to how that evidence connects with your claim, right? So make sure you're always connecting and you're always explaining, right, exactly how that happens. Again, the reader is not a mind reader, right? They don't know what's happening in your mind, right? Because to you it makes sense, right? Now you have to put that on paper, okay? So here's an example, right? So here's my sample claim. If you remember, I'm doing my project about indigenous foods, right? I decided on the potato, and here is my claim from my essay. So the potato is the most significant crop because of its impact on various cultures and society. Okay, cool, great. So if we remember from writing our claims, we know that this first part is the statement, right, or the topic. The potato is the most significant crop. Cool. We have the word because, and then we have my reason, because of its impact on various cultures and societies, right? As I'm going through and writing each piece of evidence that I have, I'm tying it back to this reason in my claim. So I'm explaining what are the impacts on various cultures and society, right? Because if I do that, then that makes my statement true. So let's take a look at this example, right? Here's my piece of evidence. In the book, The Amazing Potato by Milton Meltzer, He states that potatoes were an important staple crop in Incan society. There's my citation. Meltzer describes the potato as important. The significance of the potato is clear, and its impact on Incan culture and society solidifies the fact that it is the most important crop. All right. So do we see, and I could even elaborate more on this reasoning, right? But do we see, I have my piece of evidence, right? And then I have the piece where I go in and explain how that evidence is connected to my claim, right? So in this piece of evidence, I took this quote where he says potatoes were an important staple, a crop in Incan society, right? Then I go back and take a look, right? And I say the significance of the potato is clear. Its impact on culture and society solidifies that fact. Its most important crop, right? So I'm directly going back here, right? So that we can all look at it, right? And see how these two are connected with each other. Okay.